morning. Welcome to session 2 of Unit 4 in learning the course Computer Organization and Architecture. In our previous session, we discussed about various types of memory and their hierarchy in terms of various factors. In this session, we are going to know the details of main memory. The main objectives of this session are to know the organization of main memory, to understand the address mapping in main memory. The main outcomes of this session are, by following this session, the student will be able to understand the main memory organization and able to understand the address mapping in main memory. So first of all, before going to know how main memory address mapping is done, so how main memory is constituted, we need to know what is main memory. The main memory acts as the central storage unit in a computer system. So it is the central storage unit which stores programs and data in our central system. It is a relatively large and fast memory which is used to store programs and data during the runtime operations. So while the CPU is in running, it has to access the programs and data. The accessing of those can be done from main memory only. So it is a large and fast memory which provides accessing of programs and data to processor. The primary technology used for the main memory is based on semiconductor integrated circuits. So here the main technology involved, technology used in designing the main memory unit is semiconductor memory devices and semiconductor integrated circuits. The integrated circuits of the main memory are classified into two major units. So what are those two major units? First unit is RAM. Here I hope you all know that what is RAM? Random access memory. RAM means random access memory. Integrated circuit chips. And second one are ROM. So I hope that you all know that ROM also. ROM means read-only memory. Integrated circuit chips. So here you are the total main memory, the integrated circuit for the main memory is classified into two major units. The first unit are RAM and second unit are ROM. RAM means random access memory and ROM means read-only memory. So first we need to know the characteristics of main memory. What are the main characteristics of main memory? These are, the first characteristic is, these are semiconductor memories. The main memories are semiconductor memories. Usually volatile memory. Volatile memory means temporary memory. Main memory is temporary memory. Data is lost in case power is switched off. That is, whatever the data that you stored in the main memory, if you switch off the power, you can lose the data. You will lose the data. The data is not permanently stored. It is a temporary memory, volatile memory. It stores the data temporarily. Now, it is the working memory of the computer. So, why we are calling this as working memory of the computer? The CPU or the processor can directly communicate with the main memory only. So, that's why we are calling this as working memory of the computer. Faster than the secondary memories. The main memory is faster when compared to that of the secondary memory devices. And a computer cannot run without the primary memory or main memory. So without main memory, we cannot run a computer. So all these are various characteristics of main memory. What are the characteristics of main memory? These are semiconductor memories. These are volatile memories. Why we are calling them as volatile memories? That is, we lose data when the power is switched off. So that's why we are calling them as volatile memories. And it is also called as the working memory of computer, or it is also to be called as the primary memory of the computer. Without this primary memory, we cannot run our computer system. And coming to its fastness, it is faster than secondary storage devices. So all these are the characteristics of main memory. Now, first we need to know, so we already said you that the main memory is constituted with two types of integrated circuits. One are the RAM integrated circuits and second one are ROM integrated circuits. First we are going to discuss about RAM integrated circuit. Now what are RAM integrated circuits? bits are further classified into two possible operating modes, static and dynamic. That is static RAM integrated circuit chips, dynamic RAM integrated circuit chips. So coming to static RAM, what about the static RAM and what about the dynamic RAM? Now the primary compositions of a static RAM are flip-flops that store the binary information. So here static RAMs are constituted using flip-flops only. Each flip-flop can store a binary digit, that is either 0 or 1. Now the static RAM is easy to use and takes less time performing read and write operations as compared to dynamic RAM. So static RAM is very easy to use since we are storing the binary information that is either 0 or 1 in each flip-flop. It is constituted of some number of flip-flops. It is very easy to use and it takes less time to perform read or write operations when compared to that of the dynamic RAM. Now coming to dynamic RAM. So what is dynamic RAM? The dynamic RAM exhibits the binary information in the form of electric charges that are applied to capacitors. So that is, I hope you all understood how static RAM is constituted and how dynamic RAM is constituted. Static RAM is constituted in terms of flip-flops. So each flip-flop can be used to store one binary digit, either 0 or 1. So flip-flop is nothing but a small memory which is used to store a binary digit. But here dynamic RAM, so it is constituted with the capacitors. What the information that you want to store, that can be stored as an electric charge. That can be stored as an electric charge. Now the capacitors are integrated inside the chip by MOS transistors. The dynamic RAM consumes less power and provides large storage capacity in a single memory chip. When compared to that of the static RAM, the dynamic RAMs provides more storage capacity with less power. Now coming to RAM chips, how a RAM chip is present. So what about the representation of a RAM chip? So here I represented a diagram which indicates a RAM chip. Now RAM chips are available in a variety of sizes and are used as per the system requirement. Now based on your system requirement, based on the system configuration, what you want to make, based on that configuration we are going to use various sizes of RAM chips. So here I represented a RAM chip of size 128 by 8. So what that number indicates, 128 by 8, 128 locations. These RAM chips contain 128 locations and each location can hold 8 bits of data. This RAM chip contains 128 locations and each location holds 8 bits of data. Now what about all these things? So here it is having two selection inputs. Those two selection inputs are CS1 and CS2 and it is having two control inputs. Those two control inputs are read and write and it is connected to an address bus which is nothing but 7-bit address bus. Why we are considering this as a 7-bit bus? So here 128 means we can represent it as 2 power 7 locations. So here this RAM contains 2 power 7 locations. Since it contains 2 power 7 locations, for the representation of address of each location, we need 7 bits only. So that's why it is connected to 7-bit address bus. And since each location can hold 8 bits of data, each location can hold 8 bits of data, it is connected to 8-bit data bus. And coming to the details of this one, so what about the details of the above, what the diagram that we see? A 128 by 8 RAM chip has memory capacity of 128 words of 8 bits, that is 1 byte per word. Already I said you that it contains 128 words. Words are nothing but locations, 128 locations, and each word can hold 8 bits of data or 1 byte of data. 8 bits is nothing but 1 byte of data. This requires a 7-bit address and an 8-bit bidirectional data bus. 7-bit address bus, since it contains 128 locations that are nothing but 2 power 7 locations. For the representation of address of each location, it needs 7-bit. So that's why it needs a 7-bit address and 8-bit data bus. The 8-bit bidirectional data bus allows to transfer of data either from memory to CPU during a read operation or from CPU to memory during a write operation. So it is having two controls. One is read and other is write. During a read operation, it transfers the data from memory to CPU. During a write operation, it transfers the data from CPU to memory. Right. Now, coming to the address or the functional table, how that memory chip works. Coming to the functional table, so how it works, let us see the operations, what the operations that we can implement on 128 by 8 RAM chip. So here CS1 and CS2 are two selection inputs. If these two selection inputs are having the value 1 and 0, so CS1 is 1 and CS1 is 0, then only it indicates an operation. So let us see how it happens. Now if these two are 0, 0, so CS1 and CS2 both are 0, 0, so read and write, whatever it may be, the read control or write control, memory function is inhibited. That is, it is in high impedance state. That is, it cannot transfer any data. Now in case of 0 and 1 also, whatever it may be, the read and write controls, it is present in inhibitor. That is high impedance state. Now if it is 1, 0, there is no any read control and there is no any write control. So that is, the operations are not initiated. So if both the operations are not initiated also, it is in high impedance state. If it is 0, 0, it is in high impedance state. If it is 0, 1, it is in high impedance state. If it is 1, 0, but read and write are 0, 0, that is, these two are not enabled. In this case also, it is in high impedance state. If it is 1, 0 and 0, 1, 0, 1, that is, write control signal is enabled. Read is disabled and write is enabled. So since write is enabled, it can perform a function write operation, that is, input data to RAM. That is, it can store the data. The RAM chip can store the data. Now if it is 1, 0 and read is enabled, whatever it may be, whether write is enabled or not, read operation is happened. So first, even write is enabled, after reading only, writing operation can be performed. So even whether it may be either 0 or 1, whatever it may be its value, if read is enabled, first reading only happens. After that only writing happens. If reading is disabled and writing is enabled, writing happens. Okay. Now if it is 1, 1, whatever it may be, the read and write, it is present in high impedance state. That is, from this functional table you can observe that. So where it is in working state, so the RAM is in working state in these two cases only. So if it is 1, 0, CS1 is 1 and CS2 is 0, in that case it is present, it is doing write operation if write control is enabled. If it is 1, 0, if read control is enabled, it is doing read operation. So this entirely gives the functional table of RAM chip. Next, not only the RAM, in the constitution of main memory, we are also using ROM chips. What about ROM? A ROM memory is used for keeping programs and data that are Now, a ROM memory is used for keeping keeping programs and data that are permanently resident in the computer. So we already said you that RAM is a volatile memory. It cannot store the data permanently. But ROM is permanently stores the programs of data. Apart from the permanent storage of data, the ROM portion of main memory is needed for storing an initial program called a bootstrap loader. we are using ROM portion. But apart from that, it is also used for storing an initial program which is called as bootstrap loader. The primary function of the bootstrap loader program is to start the computer software operating when power is turned on. So if you turn on the power, the operating system, what you install in your system, that should be worked, that should be operated. Okay, so for making it operated, we are using this bootstrap loader. This bootstrap loader is permanently stored in ROM portion of the memory, main memory. Now earlier we see the RAM chip. Now we are going to see the ROM chip. So now here this gives the typical ROM chip. Let us see the size of this ROM is 512 by 8. What that indicates? It is having 512 locations, and each location can hold 8 bits of data. It is having 512 locations, and each location can hold 8 bits of data. And coming to this is having two selection inputs. Those two selection inputs are CS1 and CS2 bar. The selection inputs are CS1 and CS2 bar, and it is connected to a bidirectional data bus. Now here the data lines size is 8-bit data bus. It contains, since each location can hold 8 bits of data, 8-bit data bus is present, and since it contains 512 locations, that is nothing but 2 power 9 locations, it is connected to an 9-bit address bus. Since it needs 9 bits for transferring the address, it is connected to 9-bit address bus. Now coming to the details of this RAM chip, what we represented. The ROM chip has a similar organization as a RAM chip. However, a ROM can only perform read operation. The database can only operate in an output mode. So, in case of RAM, we have both read and write. But in case of ROM, it can only perform read operation. Now, the 9-bit address lines in the ROM chip specify any of the 512 bytes stored in it. So, since it contains 512 locations, that is 2 power 9 locations, any location can be represented by using a 9-bit address line. The value for chip select 1 and chip select 2 must be 1 and 0 for the unit to operate. Chip select 1 should be 1 and chip select 2 should be 0 for the unit to operate. Otherwise, the data bus is in high impedance state. In the same way, so here also CS1 should be 1 and the CS2 bar should be 0 to work. Okay, in other cases, if it is 0, 0 or 0, 1 or 1, 1, the ROM chip is also in high impedance state. Okay, right. Now, what is this one? This diagram indicates how the main memory is connected to CPU. How the main memory is connected to processor. For explaining about that, here we are taking 4 RAM chips. Here this is RAM 1, RAM 1, RAM 2, RAM 3 and RAM 4 and one ROM chip. So here for explaining how a main memory is connected to CPU, we are taking 4 RAM chips, RAM 1, RAM 2, RAM 3, RAM 4 and one ROM chip. Now all the 4 RAMs of size 128 by 8. All the 4 RAMs of size 128 by 8. That is, each RAM contains 128 locations. And coming to ROM, it is of size 512 by 8. That is, ROM contains 512 locations. And for all the RAMs and ROM, the data is 8 bits only. Each location can hold 8 bits of data. So first of all, let us observe how it is connected. Later we will discuss the details. Now first see, this is the data bus. This is the data bus. This data bus is connected to all RAMs and ROM. Now the data bus is a bidirectional data bus for all the RAMs. But for ROM, it can do only read operation. It is only unidirectional data bus. So here, this is the data bus which is connected to all elements. But for RAMs, it is a bidirectional data bus. But for ROM, it is a single directional. It can do only read operation. And coming to address bus. So here, address bus, we are taking the address bus from 1 to 16 bits. 1 to 7 8, 9, 10 and 11 to 16. Totally 1 to 16 bits that we are taking. That is totally 16 bit address bus that we are taking. Now let us see 1 to 7. These are connected to address 7. These are connected to address AD7 of all RAM bits and also AD9 of ROM. And 8th and 9th bits. Let us see 8th and 9th bits. These 8th and 9th bits are connected to AD9. So since it needs 9 address lines, 1 to 7, 8 and 9, all the address lines are connected to AD9. All address lines are connected to AD9. Only 1 to 7 address lines are connected to AD7. Okay, since it needs only 7 address lines. Now coming to the decoder, here we are using a 2x4 decoder. So as the input we are passing 8th and 9th bits to the decoder. It decodes these values, this into 4 values. That is 0. The 0 is connected to CS1 of first RAM 1, CS1 of RAM 1. And 1 is connected to CS1 of RAM 2. 2 is connected to CS1 of RAM 3. 3 is connected to CS1 of RAM 4. Now here we are passing the 8th and 9th bits of address bus to the decoder, 2x4 decoder. It decodes those 4 bits into 4 values. Those 4 values are connected to the CS1 selection input of 4 RAMs. And coming to CS2, the 10th bit what we are taking, this 10th bit is connected to CS2. The 10th bit is connected to CS2 of all RAM, and also the inversion of this 10th bit, the complement of this 10th bit is connected to CS2 bar. And read signal, the read signal is connected to read control of all RAMs as well as the CS1 of ROM. Write control, the write control is connected to all write control signals of all RAMs. So there is no any write control for the ROM. And 16 to 11 to 16 bits, we are not using these bits. Maximum we need only 9 data lines. For RAM we are using, for RAM we are using only 7 data lines. For ROM we are using 9 data lines. For the selection, whether it is RAM or ROM, we are using the 10th bit. So we are not using the 11 to 16 bits. Okay, this is about the connection of all the RAMs and ROM to the CPU through a bus system. Now, we need to explain this system, the functional table, how it works, all these things that we need to explain. Let us see RAM 1. The addresses of RAM 1 are represented in a hexadecimal form. So, in the same way, the addresses for ROM also represented like this. Let us see how it works. Now, when the 10th bit is 0, RAM is working. When the 10th bit is 0, RAM is working. When 10th bit is 1, ROM is working. 10th bit is 1, ROM is working. Right? Now, if 8th and 9th bits are 0, 0, RAM 1 can be used. If 8th and 9th bits are 0, 1, RAM 2 can be working. If 8th and 9th bits are 1, 0, RAM 3 is used. And if 8th and 9th bits are 1, 1, RAM 4 can be used. And these 7 bits are used for the representation of address of RAM 1 locations. So it contains 128 locations. All those locations can be represented by using the 7-bit addresses. So all these 7 bits are used for the representation of RAM addresses. All these 9 bits is used for the representation of addresses of ROM locations. So I hope that you all understood. If 10th bit is 0, I hope that you all understood how this works. If 10th bit is 0, RAM is working. If 10th bit is 1, ROM is working. Now, which part of RAM is working? 10th bit is 0, we are saying that RAM is working. Which part of RAM that we are considering? That can be decided based on 8th and 9th bits. 9th and 8th bits are 0, 0, RAM 1, 0, 1, RAM 2, 1, 0, RAM 3, 1, 1, RAM 4 are working. Okay, remaining 7 bits, 1 to 7 bits, which are used for the representation of addresses of RAM locations, and 9 bits, that is from 9 to 1, which are used for the representation of addresses of ROM locations, right? So I hope that you all understood how the main memory is constituted. So I'm going to revise the concepts what we explained in this session. In this session, we discussed about what is main memory, what is the purpose of main memory, how the main memory is constituted with the RAM and ROM, what is RAM, so what about the RAM chip, what is ROM, what about ROM chip, how this RAM and ROM, that is main memory, is connected to CPU. So all these things that we explained in this session. So to assess yourself here, I have given a question, answer this question. The question is, explain main memory in detail. In preparing this presentation, I used the digital content from various public sources. It is used only for educational purpose and not for the commercial purposes. Thank you for listening to the session.